I believe we are live. Let's just double check before we get going. It's always the awkward bit just before we start, whether we're live. I think we are live. Right. Hi guys, welcome back to W18, the Watford fan channel, for a match preview as we look ahead to Watford's trip to Old Trafford tomorrow to face Manchester United in the Premier League in the 3 o'clock kickoff this coming Saturday. Now, you might be thinking, match preview, Jacob doing the match preview, and Jacob doing a video. It feels like I haven't done one in a while. It feels like I haven't done a match preview in a while. Shane's been doing a brilliant job with the previews this season, week in, week out, constantly delivering and doing some really good in-depth previews for you guys. So hopefully you've been enjoying them. He's currently up in Manchester getting ready for tomorrow's game, enjoying himself. Didn't have time to do a preview, so I thought I'd step in and give the preview to you guys. And I thought, why not do it as a live stream? You guys seem to really like the live streams as well, especially with the interaction. You can give your opinions as I'm doing the video, and then we'll kind of bring it to the end and get your guys' opinions before we head off. So looking into, well, first of all, we'll discuss our last game before the international break. It's felt like a really, really long international break, but I'm still on the high after the Crystal Palace game before the international break, just 2 weeks ago. At Vicarage Road, where we won 2-1 against Crystal Palace in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. Massive win. Sends us through to the semis, and it's almost a week now till we face Wolverhampton Wanderers at Wembley in the semi-finals. Let me know if you've got your tickets. I certainly have, and I cannot wait for that one. It's going to be a brilliant, brilliant day. But looking at that Palace game, it was a cagey affair. There was no doubt about it. A brilliant atmosphere from the Watford fans from the offset. Palace were in good numbers as well. Obviously, a bit of the debate over the ticket allocation, etc. But I thought the players on the pitch did really, really well. Obviously, Etienne Capoue scoring on the 25th minute or so. I think it was a mistake from Guaita, if I can remember correctly. Good finish from Capoue, going into the roof of the net. Sparking scenes in the Rookery, and that kind of set the tone for the game. I think Palace did particularly miss Wilfried Zaha. Obviously, he is their best player, and that he was a notable absence. But at the same time, we had to still do the job. And there was a point in the second half when Mariappa gave the ball away. It was a Maps mistake. Obviously, Gomez tried to clip it over, which was pretty good for Gomez for his kicking. Over to Mariappa. And then Batshuayi kind of dispossessed him. And it was a very good finish with Batshuayi. But then that man again, 3 home games in a row, 3 goals off the bench, and Andre Gray made and scored the winner with a really well taken. He kind of shanked it, but well taken left foot volley. But I don't care as long as that ball went into the back of net and it sent us to Wembley. So Andre Gray's making a really big impact for us. And I'll let you know whether I start him tomorrow in my predicted lineup. But I think a notable mention has to be given to Roberto Pereira just for that ball he clipped over the top to Andre Gray, broke through the lines. Aaron Wan-Bissaka kind of got the wrong, his body position went a little bit too straight with Pereira. Pereira over the top, brilliant finish from Andre Gray, and that sent us through to Wembley. So happy days. It was a massive win, arguably the biggest game of the season. We now still have the semi-finals to turn our attention to. We've also got the fight for 7th. It seems like a bit of a battle that's emerging between Wolves and Watford. The semi-final now, the hunt for the 7th Europa League spot. But obviously Wolves is next Sunday, for Watford a really, really big game. But in between that, we've obviously got the Manchester United game, the Wolves game on Sunday, but we have got Fulham on Tuesday as well. So it's a real balancing act for Javi. Coming off the international break, the likes of Pereira, who have been playing international, they've been in Argentina, they've been flying around everywhere, and then there was 3 games in quick succession to deal with. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Javi sets up in the next 2 games, really. I think we all know for the Wolves game, he's going to go for the best team possible. But is he going to rotate for Manchester United, or is he going to rotate for Fulham? I would opt for the latter, and as I said, I'll get onto my predicted lineup very, very shortly. But that leads me nicely onto the team news going into Manchester United tomorrow. So 2 bits of team news. If you remember rightly from the Crystal Palace game, Jose Holebas had to come off towards the end of the first half, and Adam Messina had to come on for the second. And it's actually really telling with Adam Messina coming on. Not really, I think Holebas is the better left back, and I don't think Adam Messina played particularly poorly. But what was very noticeable is the impact Jose Holebas has protecting Roberto Pereira on that left-hand side. He does a really, really good job, and I think Adam Messina kind of struggles that a little bit more. He's more of an attacking fullback, whereas Holebas knows with Pereira's defensive capabilities just to drop off a little bit and provide a little bit more protection. So that was a notable thing I noticed from the Crystal Palace game. Jose Holebas has recovered from an injury that forced him off, as I mentioned, the FA Cup quarter-final. So he's back, and I would start him. There's one bit of team news, one player that isn't available, and the only player in the squad that is injured, and that is Tom Cleverley. He's picked up a calf injury, but he should be back. His expected return, is on the 7th of April, and if you remember the date, that is the semi-final of the FA Cup, so he should be back for the Wolves semi-final. Whether he'll make the squad or not, we'll have to wait and see, but that's when Tom Cleverley's expected return is. Been reading up on the team news as well. Javi Gracia has mentioned how Domingos Keane and Nathaniel Chalobah are training really, really well. Obviously, Nathaniel Chalobah has kind of been off match sharpness at the moment, and has been for a while really suffering with those injuries. So that's really good to hear, and it'll be interesting to see whether he's on the bench come tomorrow afternoon. Javi also said in his press conference pre-match that we have to know some players have been with their national teams, and with 3 games in a row in short time, we need to make decisions in selection, and that leads me on very, very nicely to my predicted lineup. I've got a graphic here, so I'll shuffle over, and we'll get that graphic up, as you can see on my left-hand side. Yeah. The predicted lineup that I think Javi Gracia will put out for tomorrow's game, and I've kept it unchanged if you've noticed. We'll start off with the back. Well, not unchanged for the Crystal Palace game, apart from Ben Foster. Outfield, I've kept it unchanged. Now, in goal, I'd return Ben Foster in between the sticks. Aurelio Gomez, a very emotional time at full time against Crystal Palace, but he's our cup keeper. Ben Foster is clearly our cup keeper, actually. Ben Foster is our Premier League goalkeeper. The dilemma for Javi is a lot of dilemmas at the moment, but good dilemmas. Who does he play for Wolves? Let me know in the live chat. Do you opt for Gomez or do you opt for Ben Foster? That's a really, really intriguing one for Javi. Does he stick with Aurelio Gomez? It looked like a farewell at Vicarage Road last Saturday. Ben Foster, I expect, though, to return against Manchester United, his former club. We're obviously our first loan with him in 2006-07. 2005-06, but full season. He was on loan from Manchester United, so it'll be a fond return for him. Played a few games for them. Back 4, I'd continue with Kiko Femenia at right back. Darian had been doing pretty well for us. I just feel that I thought Kiko did really well against Crystal Palace, and I didn't think it'd be fair to drop him. Hasn't been on international duty, unlike Dariama, who was in the Dutch squad. So I thought continue with Femenia at right back. 2 centre-backs. I think there's a debate whether you play Mariappa or Kabasele. I've kept it unchanged, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kabasele came in for Mariappa. Cathcart, I think you've got to stick there. Holebas certainly has to come back in for me. Capoue and Decore in the middle are 2 rocks. I just don't feel like you can change the centre-mid pairing. And I know what's really notable for me is the Manchester City game when away from home, and Javi adopted to play Etienne Capoue in the middle just before, the week before that Palace game. And I think that just highlights how strong and how good of a player Etienne Capoue is, that we still have to play him when we don't really need to. But he's so crucial to the way Javi sets up and so crucial to this Watford side. So I'd continue with him in centre-mid alongside Decore. A brilliant partnership that's building there. It's been going for so long now. We'll have to see if it continues for next season. 2 wingers or inside attacking midfielders. I'd go for Will Hughes on the right, and I'd also go for Roberto Pereira on the left. I could see Ken Sema coming in there, but I think Javi does like Roberto Pereira on the left-hand side, and I could see Ken coming in for Fulham. And the two men up top is going to be Dini and Delafeu. I don't think there'll be any change in that. Obviously, Andre Gray, I did mention whether I'd start him against Manchester United, but for me, I think he's more of an impact sub. I think Andre Gray, credit to him, he's been fantastic recently. His impact off the bench, it's been very consistent from him as well, and he's offering something which is different to Dini and Delafeu. He's kind of a mixture of the both, really, because Dini, the physical presence, Gray has that to an extent. The speed of Delafeu he has. I just feel like that he's a merge of both of them together, really. So he offers something a little bit different off the bench, but I think you've got to continue with Deeney and Delafeu. And I have to admit, Delafeu was brilliant for us in the Palace game, and Deeney was too. So that would be my predicted lineup, or my preferred lineup, kind of a crossover of the two. So we'll move on to our opponents, Manchester United. This week, obviously, the big news coming out of Old Trafford is that they appointed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on a 3-year deal. This will be Solskjaer's first game as the new Manchester United permanent manager. Obviously brought in after Jose Mourinho's sacking, and Solskjaer's hit the ground running. He's been phenomenal, really. It was always going to be a drastic change from the style Mourinho had and the atmosphere at Manchester United when Mourinho was there, but I think no one really expected Solskjaer to have that much of an impact on the United team. So I think deservedly he does deserve to get the job. Deservedly deserves to get the job. Interestingly, when you contrast this Saturday's game with the last game he played Manchester United in, was obviously the 2-1 defeat at home at Vicarage Road back in September. I think, if I'm mistaken, Andre Gray was on the score sheet. I probably should just double check that, but I'm pretty sure Andre Gray was on the score sheet last time the two sides met. But it's going to be a completely different side than the one we faced at Vicarage Road. We went into that game with a lot of confidence, actually. I remember speaking to some fans, actually, that a lot of fans were thinking, you know what, we could get something out of this. And it was a tight affair. And I think towards the end, obviously Andre Gray got the goal, and we were really, really piling on the pressure. I remember now, I'm starting to recall it, Nemanja Matic got sent off, and yeah, there was kind of just a surge towards David De Gea's goal. I thought we were going to get that equalised, and it was a really good effort towards the end for Watford. But unfortunately, that didn't materialise. But I think it's going to be a different side than we faced back in September. A more free-flowing, a more attacking side to deal with. And they'll be playing less on the break. I think under Mourinho, particularly away from home, they played a lot on the break. At home, they did that at times too. I think they'll be dominating the possession, and Watford are going to have to play on the break to get anything out of the game. So there is an argument whether you do change the team to maybe a 4-3-3, or you do change it completely to instill as much pace as possible into the side, but we'll have to wait and see with Javi. Man United are coming into the game, well, the last 6 games, they've won 4, drawn 1, and lost 1, that loss coming away at Arsenal in the 2-0 defeat. Bit of team news from them. Alexis Sanchez, Matteo Darmian and Antonio Valencia are all ruled out. Probably the notable one there is Alexis Sanchez. He hasn't hit the ground running since he's joined Manchester United from Arsenal, and he won't be taking any part. But I think the players we've got to be looking out for, the likes of Rashford, Romelu Lukaku, Paul Pogba, Anthony Martial. That is, yeah, it's a lot of attacking talent. I think maybe the one element of Manchester United that you do look at and you think, the back line, can we get at it? We'll have to wait and see, but I think that's definitely a weakness and something we could exploit. Coming up against former Watford man Ashley Young at right back. So we'll have to see how that one goes. Obviously, didn't get a good reception last time the two sides met, and obviously last time, the time before, he scored that brilliant free kick and decided to slide on his knees in front of the rookery, which didn't go down too well. But no, going into the game, Watford have obviously got a massive, massive week coming up. Manchester United tomorrow, Fulham on Tuesday, and the Wolverhampton Wanderers next Sunday. The priority obviously is Wolves next Sunday. There's not many times, I say not many times, but opportunities to get to an FA Cup final are few and far between. The last time we did that was against Palace, but we were poor that day, and I don't want a repeat of that, and it's going to be a really tight game, I think. Remember the last time Wolves and Watford met were back in October. We set off Wolves and played them on the break, and obviously 2 goals within 50 seconds settled it between the two sides, but I don't think it's going to be like that come to Wembley. I think it'll be a much tighter affair. And I thought we dominated that. But that does give me really good confidence going into that one. But as I said, we've got to manage the Manchester United game, the Fulham game, which are 2 big games. We've got to remember, we've got to keep one eye on the Premier League, because in the event of Sunday, next Sunday, not coming out the way we want it to and getting knocked out by Wolves, we now need to focus on the league, and we now need to focus on the 7th Europa League spot. That's got to be the aim. But let's see on Sunday. But the priority is next Sunday. I don't like the term free hit, but I feel like with the Manchester United game, we're not expected to win. And there's a lot of pressure off the players. As long as it's not, I feel like you want to go into, I'll take a point now. But as I said, we know where our priorities are. The big game, well, the must-win is Fulham. If you were going to say now, well, obviously I want to beat Manchester United, but out of the two games, which do you definitely need to be winning? It's the Fulham game. No doubt about it. We need to win against Fulham on Tuesday. Manchester United, it's going to be difficult. I'm not expecting all 3 points. I'm expecting a performance, of course, like every game I do. But 3 points Fulham. Manchester United, we'll have to see what happens. And Wolves is obviously the big one. So that's when I'm going to round up the match preview. Let's see what you guys are saying in the live chat. Thank you very much for watching the preview, by the way. Shane, Jacob, hope you enjoy Manchester. Shane. Hi, Jude. We've got Max. We've got some plans going there for some merchandise in the future. We'll have to wait and see. With all respect for Gomez, but it's got to be Foster and goal. I agree. Yashin, particularly with... Score prediction. Thank you very much for reminding me. Score prediction going into tomorrow's game. Ooh, I think Manchester United will just edge it. I think we'll score. I'm going to go for a negative 2-1. I think most Watford fans are going into it not thinking we'll win. They're going to have they're going to have it twice now, Manchester United, because obviously when Solskjaer came in for Mourinho, they had that new manager bounce, and now he's signed on a 3-year contract. There's going to be a new kind of surge of encouragement and enthusiasm coming from Old Trafford. So it's going to be a really difficult one for Watford. I can only see a Manchester United win, but obviously I want Watford to win. It's going to be tough. We'll have to wait and see. Make sure you check out all our post-match content tomorrow. Robin is going to be at Old Trafford doing all the fan cams, so make sure you do look out for them. And obviously it's a big week for Watford, so we'll have a lot of content coming thick and fast. Keep the faith, support the Orns, and I will see you tomorrow. Cheers, guys.